Wait, oh my god, a new Motionless In White album has been released. Do you know what that means?
By design, but we're not here together. Never tell me who you've been. Am I you or me? I can never remember.
What is up, my goth boys and top boys? Toby Foster Memes here, and today we're going to be reviewing the new album Disguise by Motionless In White. Oh yeah, baby, but wait, we are nowhere near in the right outfit to review Motionless In White, so let's fucking go to the wardrobe. Bro, Motionless In White are like so technical, bro. Ha! There you see, I'm now the stereotypical Motionless In White fan. I got the swoopy hair, got the edgy beanie, got the Avenged Sevenfold hoodie, and the fucking Slipknot shirt. Let's go. We are now integrated with the Motionless In White fanbase. So if any fans of Motionless In White watch this video, they will no longer send hatred towards me because they think I'm one of them. Perfect disguise. I'm like Agent 47. I'm the fucking hitman right now. Motionless In White are a metalcore band from Pennsylvania, which is somewhere in America. I'm assuming it's something called the flyover state. I've heard that mentioned somewhere. I'm not an American. Please don't take hate towards me. I don't care which state you live in, but I've heard the term flyover state. I'm assuming Pennsylvania is one of those because you don't really hear much about Pennsylvania. I don't know what there is to do in Pennsylvania. Maybe there's a lot to do, but besides the point, they're a new metalcore band from fucking Pennsylvania. And the thing about Motionless In White is they've always had like their album Creatures was basically every 13-year-old teen girl's wet dream. You got cute boys, you got synth breakdowns, and you got powerful choruses. And I'm not gonna lie to you and say that Creatures doesn't have any bonuses and upsides, because it is a fun album to listen to. Not saying it's a particularly good one in my opinion, but it is definitely fun, and fun you will get. Over time, Motionless In White started adding in more new metal and new metalcore influences into the sound. Like, I remember on their previous album, which was called Graveyard Shift, they had Jonathan Davis of the band Korn do vocals on one of their tracks. Now, on this latest record, I was going into this, I was expecting Motionless In White to go back to their roots. Kind of, a little bit. Because their song Disguise, that was a single released for this album, it felt sort of like from the album Immaculate, sorry, from the older material, but more refined, more heavy, and I was excited for that. But then, as you listen through this album, it's a fucking new metal album. It's a fucking new metal album, ladies and gentlemen. They put out a fucking new metal album in 2019. Well, what has the world come to? Now, I get that rappers like Scarlord and all those trap metal dudes, they're kind of bringing new metal back, which is kind of like its own style of new metal, which is fine. They're experimenting. But Motionless In White, they are doing B-Tech Linkin Park, B-Tech A Day to Remember, B-Tech Slipknot, B-Tech Korn. It's just a fucking B-Tech new metal album. Every single influence on this album can be heard and done much better by those bands. Except maybe Slipknot, because Slipknot nowadays are basically a B-Tech Slipknot in themselves. So Motionless In White do their Slipknot parody all too well on this record. Oh shit guys, I forgot to get a tie to show you if I like this album or not. Be right back. So obviously black tie means I didn't like the album, red tie means I liked it. So without further ado, psych, you thought wrong, black tie on this bitch. Now, I'm sorry. You didn't tune into Leafy Bully's Metalcore Albums Episode 1, and Metalcore Bands, sorry. I'm here to give you a review, my thoughts on this album. Now I'm going to start with some positives, because there are some positives surprisingly to this album. For example, the track Disguise, which I mentioned before. I feel like it's an excellent start to this album. I feel like it does everything. If this album was more like Disguise, it'd be a okay, good, maybe great album. But the thing is, they didn't really go down that style, which is fine. I don't mind experimentation. As I said, Disguise is a good track. Also, do have to mention Chris Motionless's vocal performances, because they're always very, very good. I mean, the main attraction to Motionless In White are those powerful choruses that they have. Very, like, poppy. And poppy isn't always a bad thing, because their choruses are really powerful. But And yeah, on this record, he really does emphasize his vocal talent and portrays it very well to the viewer. He's very versatile in his vocal performance, although sometimes it is very reminiscent of Marilyn Manson and Corey Taylor from Slipknot, because he has like those kind of Corey Taylor flows on his vocal on certain songs. There is a Slipknot parody, like a basically ripped off Slipknot track. The track was called Thoughts and Prayers, and it starts off with some like really fast double bass, which is about the only interesting drum stuff we get on this album. The rest of it is kind of forgettable. The most interesting part of Motionless In White have always been the synths when they used tastefully and Chris's vocals. And on the song Chris Motionless, as I was saying before, he has that Corey Taylor vocal pattern like I don't give a fuck. You know that kind of Corey Taylor vocal pattern. Thoughts and Prayers was an alright track, a very Slipknot orientated, but as we can see, new metal has been a huge influence, most likely on Motionless In White, considering it's a huge part of their sound. They've done songs with Jonathan Davis, and fucking Chris Motionless, he definitely has some Jonathan Davis in his voice. Definitely a huge vocal inspiration on him. Christ, I'm gonna take off these glasses because they're really steamy. Thank you. There we go. I look slightly less. Actually, maybe I look more like the hipsters that like Motionless In White. I don't know. Probably without the glasses. Yeah, I look pretty hipster. It doesn't really matter. But now we're gonna get into the bad, which is most of this fucking album. Now the song Headache, well, I originally heard it, I thought it was really funny, because it is literally, if you told someone to make a new metal joke song, Headache is what they would come out with. It has the most fucking basic ass level lyrics, basic ass structure. It's so fucking basic. It's literally if you were a fucking teenager who wants to rebel against your parents and the establishment but not get in trouble, this is kind of what your anthem would be. The fucking chorus of like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, is the fucking edgiest 13-year-old shit can write. And I'm not saying Motionless In White has always had that like edgy tinge, but the lyrics were way better on previous installments. I mean, come on, Chris, if are you the one who writes the lyrics? Whoever writes the lyrics in Motionless In White, get your finger out of your fucking ass. And speaking of, well, not speaking of, but on a different tangent, this fucking album was released by Roadrunner. Roadrunner, you have a fucking great portfolio. The amount of money you're making, please, at least make sure this album is good. Could you not have done anything, Roadrunner? Roadrunner, you're like a really influential label to so many people. Please, Roadrunner, you could have done something. But yeah, the song, the Code, which is the third track on this album. The song Code is literally the most fucking B-Tech Linkin Park song. Listen to those fucking synths. Fuck, it's Linkin Park. It's Linkin Park in 2019, but done worse than Linkin Park. I mean, if you go back to Hybrid Theory and Meteora, I'm not a huge new metal guy anymore, but those albums, they're 10,000 times better. Well, not maybe 10,000 times better, but they're better than what Motionless In White are doing here. Why can't they just do their own thing? Why do they have to be Linkin Park? We have Linkin Park already. Motionless In White, we want you for your powerful choruses, your metalcore breakdowns. Please, I don't mind you experimenting, but make it good. I'm sorry, Motionless In White. You were like a key portion of my childhood. Your song Reincarnate was on repeat. It was my fucking alarm. This is why I'm so disappointed in you. I'm fucking disappointed. Especially by your last album, which is a piece of fucking shit. Why? Why did you think it was a good idea to release that? I'm rambling, aren't I? Anyway, let's move on. Their song Legacy is literally a fucking pop chart-topping song. It has those, what's that song though? We Are Young. That song. It sounds like their version of that. And it's not good, ladies and gentlemen. It is not good. I would not recommend you listen to that. A lot of these tracks are very forgettable, but the ones that do different things are kind of bad, but they're good bad. They're very good. Well, it's not, no, let me explain. A lot of the bad tracks on this have a lot of cheese to them, a lot of 90s industrial cheese, like Broadcasting from Beyond the Grave Incorporated. That song has like fucking, sounds like something Rob Zombie would put out if Rob Zombie wasn't shit nowadays. But it's still bad, don't get me wrong, I'm still not a big fan of the song. That's all, I'm just saying, it sounds like something Rob Zombie would put out. Let me just talk a bit more about the track Headache, because the opening bass part, while I like the bass tone, like you can tell that the bass part at the start of Headache is trying to imitate a corn, but it's throwing it as disgusting and raw and huge as the corn bass tone, because the bass is such a huge key part of Korn, and the bass isn't that big of a part of Motionless In White. The opening bass sounds something like Fugazi or Tool would play. No disrespect to those bands, because the bass that they use in those bands is extremely good, but it's not the Tool kind of bass is not what you want on Headache, even though Tools have that old metal, new metal vibe at times. Also, record scratches, that's the one thing. They brought back fucking record scratches, which is sick. I want to hear more record scratches, because dude, I miss when every single fucking new metal song had a record scratch. New metal was such a big part of me. Holding On to Smoke was another track I remember, because it sounds something like A Day to Remember would do. It's like, I'm tired of being tired of alone. Like that kind of stuff. It's very A Day to Remember, and I just listen to fucking A Day to Remember. I keep repeating this point, but why would you listen to this album when the start has been done much better on other fucking albums? Like A Day to Remember have done A Day to Remember better than Motionless In White will do A Day to Remember. So Motionless In White, why would you do fucking A Day to Remember? The production on this record is really clean, except in some parts like the chorus on Headache. It's very like distorted, supposed to sound new metally. Like this, the production of this album is not something I like, but I guess it works with this album, so I give that a pass. There's not very much to talk about there. The closing track, however, Catharsis, it's probably one of the closest things. It gets the poppy anthem, arena anthem better than they did on the song Legacy, which was that We Are Young kind of song. But Catharsis is still not a very good track. It's that Motionless In White are still searching for their top charting arena anthems, which I commend them for. You know, give yourself a goal. I guess there is a challenge in writing a mass appealing song. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think any song on here is that mass appealing. Come to think of it, I don't even know who this album is targeted at, because all the new metal influences and all the fucking song, every influence on here has been done by the band they are copying 10 times better on their own albums. So yeah, if you want to listen to new metal, listen to old new metal. I mean, this has a better production, but the songwriting is not as good. And I'm not saying all the new metal songwriting was all that good, because a lot of them was just power chords. Because they didn't know chord theory at the time. But well, that's the general. There's a lot of good bands who had a lot of good technicality to them, like Korn and Deftones. They had a lot of good songwriting. But there's a lot of bands which just played power chords because they didn't know how to play instruments, so they just played power chords. It's fun. Power chords are fun. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, no fucking anthem chart topping on here. Unfortunate. Catharsis has, I guess it's a pretty catchy hook, because it got stuck in my head a little bit, but I don't really like the very simplistic drum beat, even though I don't think it works with it, but I kind of would wish for that drum beat to be something more, be something greater than what it is. It's just, dun, tss, dun, tss. It's really very simplistic. This is just going to be a quick review. If you liked it, leave a like. I don't care. Hope you enjoyed the review. If you have any constructive criticisms, leave them down in the comments. But until next time, I'll see you. And next time will be anywhere next week. This has been a review of Motionless In White. Guys, I did not like this album very much, which is why I'm wearing a black tie. Though before we go, I have to say, this fucking hat has been growing on me. I bought it for the previous video as a bit of a meme, but it's just so edgy, it's fucking hilarious to me. But that's all I have to say. Now you can go off about your day. See ya.